I am the giant baby. So humiliating.
Good afternoon,
Sports racers.
This is Hannah
And Isabel from Baltimore, Maryland.
You're watching the show
With Zay Frank.
Let's play That Makes Me Think Of one last time. There's a little book called A Practical Handbook for the Actor, and playwright David Mamet wrote the intro for it. In it, Mamet says that most acting training is based on shame and guilt. Teachers have a tendency to talk about the craft in loose mythological terms, like getting it and feeling it. Not really knowing what those things are, students struggle forward any way they can, gathering up a collection of tricks to get their teacher's attention. They become ashamed that they don't grasp these undefinable concepts and that they've developed workarounds despite them. Over time, they naturally become more comfortable and more experienced, and then they're praised for getting it or feeling it. They still don't really know what that is, but the praise feels good, so they play along. Yes, I get it. Why cast doubts or ask questions if it's working? But there's a sense of guilt that comes with perpetuating the mythology, and when it comes time for them to teach, they repeat the cycle, and so on. It's a pattern that continues because there are no checks and balances. Questioning it once you're in it potentially undermines your worth, and so you remain loyal to a broken thing. That makes me think of a story that's been in the news recently about a group of federal prosecutors that were recently fired by the Bush administration. The administration had the right to fire these prosecutors. They were appointed by the president and serve at his pleasure, which isn't as dirty as it sounds. But first and foremost, federal prosecutors serve the law, and that requires a certain independence and distance from political pressures. In a way, they're meant to represent the checks and balances of the judicial branch of government. Prosecutors are rarely fired in the middle of a term, and questions arose as to why. Initially, Alberto Gonzales, the Attorney General, said that they were fired because of job performance issues. But in recent weeks, it's become clear that they were most likely fired for not playing along, for not bowing to the political pressures that they were meant to be shielded from. Pressures to continue investigations into alleged Democratic voter fraud around the time of the elections. Pressures to increase the numbers of low-level prosecutions of illegal immigrants. Pressures not to continue investigating officials tied to the Duke Cunningham scandal. It appears they were fired for not being loyal, for questioning certain political requests. The Bush administration has gotten much of its strength from a fierce and absolute loyalty. The president expects nothing less, and in return he's stood by disgraced officials until the bitter end. But if absolute power corrupts absolutely, absolute loyalty is a pyramid scheme of that power, and ultimately that corruption. Just imagine if your boss said that as long as you were loyal, he'd stand by you no matter what. When the shit hits the fan and things start to break down, you find yourself just being loyal to being loyal. And if you aren't, you threaten to undermine everything. After years of loyalty-based politics without the checks and balances of dissent, we're starting to see what it's led to. Many Republicans are now forced to ask what exactly it was that they were loyal to. And because of that, the Republican Party is said to be in a state of disarray. In contrast, the Democrats, for the moment at least, appear to have a certain unity. Personally, I hope that that unity has room for dissent, that it isn't based on some abstract notion of party loyalty. Both sides are vulnerable to the same forces, and given the alternative, I'll take disarray over loyalty that's absolute. This is Zay Frank thinking for me. I'll see you on Ride the Fire Eagle Danger Day. And just a reminder, tomorrow's the last day to get most of those meaningless products.